Hey there, I wanted to provide you a quick update on what happened in the Massachusetts State Senate this week. So, couple things that are new this week. So the Senate put forward a bill on mental health reform. This is called an act addressing barriers to care for mental health, otherwise known as the Mental Health ABC Act. So this was put forward by a group of senators, and the purpose really is to remove barriers to timely mental health care and also to give the state additional tools to help them deal with some of the inequalities in mental health care. So I don't know if you saw this, but Blue Cross just recently did a study in 2019 that showed that nearly 55% of fully insured adults, so people who have insurance, reported difficulty finding adequate mental health care. So this is a really big issue for us here in Massachusetts, and it's something that this Senate bill hopefully will address. Now, here's why this is truly important. So if you've had any experience with mental health, you may know this, but mental health is treated differently than physical health care, medical health care. And there's a lot of stigma around it. And there are a lot of issues for people who need to get care, whether that's seeing a therapist or going to an inpatient treatment facility, whatever it may be. There's a huge struggle right now to get access to quality and affordable mental health care. So, and the healthcare system just has massive inequalities between who can get this access and who doesn't have it. So this bill will hopefully address that. The next steps on this bill. So the senators have until today, so Monday, February 10th, to submit amendments. And then there will be a debate on Thursday, February 13th on this. So if you want more information on this, reach out to us. We'll drop some links below, but this is a really important bill. Now let's talk about what's changed in the Senate last week. So an act concerning sexual harassment policies in the Commonwealth. This is a bill that I've been following very closely as a woman, as someone who knows what it's like to be subject to sexual harassment in the workplace. This is a bill that's very important to me. So this was put forth by a senator who actually experienced sexual harassment as a staffer and was basically forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement and decided to break that agreement to share her story, and is now putting forward this legislation that prevents the use of NDAs in government for sexual harassment specifically. So this is really important because this bill ensures that victims cannot be silenced, that victims cannot be forced or even coerced, I should say, to sign an NDA in one of these situations to make the problem go away, right? We want victims to be able to share their stories, to feel as though they have some recourse for what's happened to them. There are concerns by opponents of this bill that this is actually going to prevent victims from getting NDAs when they want to. But honestly, history has shown that it's more often the situation that the victim is forced to sign an NDA, not that the victim requests an NDA. So I think this bill is really important, and I've been watching it pretty closely. Unfortunately, the Joint Judiciary Committee, which is made up of House and Senate members, just decided to send this bill to study last week. And as history shows us, sending something to study is basically killing the bill. However, Senate President Karen Spilka, who is a huge supporter of this bill, and Judiciary Committee Chair Senator Jamie Eldridge, also a supporter, have both come out and said that they are committed to addressing the objections that were raised against this bill and also pushing this bill forward. So there's still some hope, but this is the kind of thing that if you support this bill and support the need to get NDAs out of government to be able to use them for sexual harassment cases, then absolutely reach out to your senators, to everyone you know in the legislature, in the House, to encourage them to keep this bill alive. Things I want you to keep your eye on, if you're interested. There was a package of environmental bills put out by the Senate last week, or I guess at the end of January, so a couple weeks ago. And the goal really of all of these bills is to have statewide net zero emissions, from greenhouse gases by 2015. So, but 2015, that does not make sense. 2050. And so this covers everything from transitioning vehicles to zero emissions, supplying low cost and solar electricity, requiring energy efficiency standards for appliances, for buildings, things like that. as well as some regulations in the transportation industry, the building industry, solid waste, natural gas, things like that. So the bunch of bills that do a lot of different things with this one goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Now, some specifics, just to give you an example of what some of these are. Within the bills, it would set a deadline to convert all MBTA buses to all electric power by 2040. There is a piece of it that says the state government would only be able to buy zero emissions vehicles starting in 2024. It would provide rebates to consumers who buy zero emissions vehicles. So a lot of good things that can help us get to that goal of zero emissions by 2050. Now, there is an existing bill, the 2008 Global Warming Solutions Act. This sets a goal of reducing emissions to 80% below 1990 levels by 2050. The current package of bills that they've just put out effectively sets a goal of 100%. So it takes us from the 80% to the 100%. Now, the bill has passed the Senate and it's on its way to the House. So this is a great time to call your reps in the House and encourage them to support this bill. You know, there will be amendments, most likely there will be changes to this. So it's really important that we exert pressure on our legislators to keep this bill as powerful and impactful as possible. So I hope this update was helpful for you. I will be here every Friday with an update on what's happening in the Senate. And if you want more info on my campaign or what's happening in the Senate, you can head on over to megwheeler.com and check us out there. Talk to you soon.